If you feel like there's never enough time in the day, this video is for you. Time is money, we've heard that before, but I actually think time isn't just money. Time is the foundation for a better quality of life. If you free up your time, you can create space to build wealth, to work towards your goals, to do anything you want to do. But more importantly, more time gives you the ability to enjoy a more balanced and a more fulfilling life. Some of these strategies I'm going to talk about in this video will probably be super helpful if you work at a desk job or on a computer. But even if you don't, I actually think these tips can be applied to your personal life and everyday tasks if you want to manage your time better and be more efficient. Now, I know a lot of my content typically focuses on how to improve your finances and build wealth, but I also believe that when we talk about abundance and bringing more abundance into our lives, that's not just about money. It's about our time, it's about our energy, it's about how much time we have to spend with our loved ones, so more love in our lives. So abundance comes in many forms, and we have ways that are within our control to create more of that. In this video, I am going to specifically share 6 strategies and tips that I personally use to manage my time effectively, and I believe these are strategies that have helped me create a more abundant life. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I am also going to share my 3-2-1 method. I will show it to you right here. And that method is my go-to system to stay on track and get things done, especially in the weeks that I need to be really efficient. For those new here, hello and welcome. My name is Lissa. I'm a personal finance expert and a certified financial planner. Before this life, the last couple of years where I help people build wealth, I actually spent over a decade working at Google. Prior to that, I worked at Fox Sports, the broadcasting company. And prior to that, I earned a master's degree in communications. I'm sharing this to say, I guess you could call me an overachiever. The overachiever mindset is one that I credit to my immigrant parents, who basically instilled the idea in me that I always had to give 200% in everything I did. I had to work hard and have a very strong work ethic. If you come from a similar background, you probably understand. Now, I will admit that nowadays I do have a love-hate relationship with being an overachiever, because I'm sure for some years I was like pretty much a robot, just trying to be more successful. But I will say that learning to manage my time efficiently and effectively has been one of the main keys to my success, both financially and in my career, and also personally. So whether you are juggling family, work, hobbies, relationships, friendships, trying to maintain a social life, or trying to spend more time to improve your financial future, I hope that this video gives you some actionable tips that show you can do it all without losing your peace of mind and without losing your mind. So let's dive in. The first tip that I have is I have dedicated email time. This tip is a game changer for any of you who spend a lot of time in your inbox, a lot of time managing emails. But if you're not at a desk job, like I said earlier, you can apply this same principle to other recurring tasks, to your social media apps, to anything that tends to take over your day and disrupts your day. What I mean by dedicated email time is, as best as I can, I won't check my email every 2 minutes, every 10 minutes while I'm trying to complete other tasks. I will set aside a whole hour to go through my email inbox. And what I do in that hour is I can respond to emails, I can tackle tasks that come out of those emails, or I can use that time to organize my emails and add any action items to a to-do list later. I've found that to be way more effective than trying to go back and forth and check an email and forget to do this thing and forget to finish that thing. I know it's not possible for every single job, but it is something to consider. Quick story, back in the day when I used to work at Google, I started my career as an administrative assistant to 2 executives. That particular role actually required me to be always on. I had to avoid missing critical things that could affect my executives' schedules and everything else. Now, I think it was a mix of things. I feel like back then I was a bigger yes woman and I contributed to that culture of having to be always on. But I was a 23-year-old overachieving child of immigrants trying to pave my way and start my career strong. I wanted to show that I could deliver on expectations. Fast forward to later on in my corporate career. I realized that I maintained that feeling that I had to always be on, that I always had to respond to emails immediately, that I couldn't leave people hanging for more than like an hour because they might think I'm not on top of my shit. I was very reactive anytime I got an email or got a ping asked to do something. I basically had a lot of years of my career where I set the expectation that I was available 24/7, that if you emailed me, I'm gonna get you that response immediately. Now, I'm not saying to leave people on red forever, especially if that's part of your job, you gotta respond, you gotta help people out, but I'm saying there's a balance. So eventually I made it so that I didn't have that urge to respond immediately, especially for non-urgent things. And I started carving out specific windows to check emails. It depended on the week, but sometimes I'd put an hour block in the morning and an hour block in the afternoon. That way things wouldn't get lost, but I could carve out specific windows to check emails versus specific windows to work on focused tasks. Moving on. Number 2 on the list, how I manage my time effectively, the 2-minute rule. The 2-minute rule is pretty simple. It's basically, if you think of a task, if you think of something you gotta get done, and it takes 2 minutes or less to complete, then just do it immediately instead of adding it to your to-do list. Obviously, there's a balance. This could go immediately against what I just said about dedicated, email time, dedicated time to work on a project. But I'm talking about you get home and before you sit on the couch, you remember that you got to take the laundry out of the washer and move it to the dryer. That's probably not the best example because why would you leave your clothes in the washer? Because it'll start to smell. Anyway, the point is, if you end up adding so many small tasks to a very, very long to-do list, it's going to create unnecessary clutter. It's going to start to get overwhelming. It might get so overwhelming that you can't get started. And not only that, having a never-ending list of things you gotta do later is basically why people feel like they're busy all the time. They have this never-ending list, they never get caught up, they can never check off every single box on it, there's always something new. So the key is finding how this fits into your time management system. For example, if I'm sitting writing content and trying to outline my next YouTube video, and I have this thought that, oh, I gotta respond to that email. Even though that's a 2-minute rule email, I'm not gonna leave my current focus task to do it. I only do this rule when I'm like watching TV and I can hit pause or doing something less important. If you know the feeling of having little to nothing on your ongoing to-do list, you know how great that feels. So rather than letting it pile up over time and always feeling too busy to finish everything, knock the quick stuff out when you can. All right, number 3, another way that I manage my time effectively is I organize and I batch the tasks that I gotta do. This minimizes the amount of context switching that you have to do. Context switching is what happens when you jump from one task to another, and oftentimes one task that's totally unrelated to another one. Context switching is known to kill productivity because every time you switch gears, your brain needs time to adjust. Even if you don't notice it, you still need time to ramp up to this new task that you're trying to do. And over time, that can slow you down and drain your energy. So like I said, to avoid too much context switching, I organize and batch my tasks. So batching means I try to group similar tasks together so that I can complete them more efficiently. For me, as a content creator, this means that if I am going to write more YouTube videos or write TikTok content or write my captions for Instagram, I'm gonna sit and do all those things in the same 3-hour block. Obviously, I'm gonna cut up that 3 hours to focus on YouTube, to focus on Instagram, but I'm trying to batch all of this content creation into one block. On the flip side, if I didn't do that and I had a 3-hour block to create content, but then I decided within that 3-hour block, I'm gonna create content and then I'm gonna go assemble my new desk and then I'm gonna go do a coaching call. It's way too many things that you have to switch between. So batching tasks makes me more efficient, which allows me to get more stuff done and it frees up my time later. Now the point on organizing my tasks, The way I manage it is I literally use the Notes app on my phone as I think of things that I have to do. And I do this both for my personal life as well as my work. But if things come up, I'll make sure to write it down first and foremost because I don't want to forget it. And if it doesn't fit into the 2-minute rule, and if it is something that I have to put off until later, then I definitely add it to a list. But before tackling any items on the list, let's say I have 2 hours of free time where I can knock out a bunch of these things. I'm not just gonna like scan down this whole list and pick random ones. I try to organize them and batch them together. And there's no clear way to do this. I try to organize things based on what kind of brain power and space they require. All right, number 4, probably one of my favorites on this list is I don't multitask. I used to be a multitasker like crazy. Every single thing I did, work, personal, everything, I'd multitask like 8 things at the same time. It was crazy. Now, multitasking might seem productive because you're able to do multiple tasks at the same time, but I believe now at least that it typically isn't productive. It ends up splitting your focus, it reduces the quality of your work sometimes, and I think it often takes longer to complete tasks. Unless you time yourself doing specific tasks, it's hard to quantify this and prove that it actually slows you down, but it's something I truly believe. Now, I won't say I never multitask. I do still multitask from time to time when most of the tasks or most of the things I gotta do are mindless activities or less important. It's one thing to be drafting up a business strategy and another thing to be walking your dog. So for example, I will walk my dog while listening to a podcast or a book on Audible with one earbud while getting my steps. And yes, I only wear one earbud because I am hyper aware of my surroundings. 1, I'm from Salinas, California. I don't expect you to know what that means, but yeah, you just gotta keep your head on a swivel. And 2, I was actually hit by a car as a pedestrian while I was walking across the street a couple years ago. I actually wasn't listening to music and I saw the car, which is probably what saved me from an even worse accident. But all that to say, I'm super aware of my surroundings. For most people, I don't suggest multitasking while you are out and about walking when there are cars and things like that. Anyway, that was a mini tangent. Let's get back to multitasking. Let me give you a couple of tips within this tip of how to do more focused work as opposed to multitasking. Mini tip number 1, close or minimize your email inbox while you're working on something specific to avoid constant notifications, to avoid that reflex of just going to check it all the time. If you don't have a job that requires you to be in your inbox, you can apply this to apps, app notifications. You can turn them off or silence them when you are focused on a specific task. On that note, on the phone, you can put your phone on silent and you can keep it out of arm's reach. If you're really trying to focus on something and get something done efficiently, make sure you save yourself from yourself and limit those distractions. Something I'm working on, but I'm way better now than I was before, is limit your open tabs on your browser. And yes, I am talking to those of you who have like 72 million tabs open right now. It's easy to click around and get lost in all your different tabs, so only have the tabs open that you need to complete whatever task or project you're working on. Another tip is use various tools and software like Do Not Disturb on your phone so that you don't get interrupted when you are trying to have focus time. I promise when you give individual tasks and projects your full attention and your full focus, you are gonna be amazed at how much faster you can complete it. And that just frees up time, not for 10 times more work, but it just frees up time that you can use as you please. We got 2 more on the list, plus my special 3-2-1 method I'm gonna tell you about at the end of the video. But before I finish, real quick, if you haven't already, please like the video if you're getting anything out of it, and subscribe if you haven't already and you like my videos. It helps out my channel, and I appreciate all of you for all the support that I've had, especially in the last couple of weeks. It's been really cool to chat with a bunch of you in the comments, so say hello. Number 5, another way that I manage my time effectively, I take breaks. This might sound counterintuitive. If you take breaks, you're not gonna get stuff done, right? But I believe that taking breaks makes you more productive. When you push yourself too hard, you never stop, you just go, your energy and your focus decline. This applies whether you are tackling a task that requires mental energy as well as physical energy. You'd be surprised how a quick 5 to 10 minute break even can help you reset. When you've been working for so long, you need to step away. It's going to help you reset. It's going to clear your head. You're going to end up returning with more energy and more focus, which will help you finish whatever you're doing a lot quicker. Think about it. Let's say you spend 4 hours out of the weekend to clean your entire house. You're doing a deep clean. How do you feel by that 4th hour? I know that I would feel tired and sore and mentally drained. Even if I was able to get it all done, I'm probably moving a little bit slower. The same thing happens with mental tasks. Short breaks throughout the day are gonna keep your mind and your body refreshed. So one method that I've used and I've also butchered and changed over the years is the Pomodoro technique. It's when you sit down and work on something for 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break before you resume. Some people think that 25 is too short. I sometimes do, which is why I said I've butchered this before. I'll typically do like a 45-minute or 50-minute block, but I'll rarely go an hour or an hour and a half without taking a break, even if it just means getting up to go to the bathroom, getting a cup of coffee, or walking over to my dogs to pet them, and then going back to my desk. Taking breaks, regardless of what you are working on, is a super simple but very effective way that will help you maintain focus in the long run. You'll avoid burnout, you'll have more energy, and you will get things done more efficiently. All right, the last on the list, but don't forget after this, I'm gonna quickly tell you about my 3-2-1 method, so stick around. But last on this list of tips and strategies to manage my time better is I outsource. You probably heard the saying that Beyonce has the same 24 hours in a day as the rest of us, and we know that while that's true, Beyonce has more money, and with that money, she can use it to free up her time. Now, I'm not saying that you need Beyonce level wealth to outsource tasks. I'm actually saying the opposite. I'm saying that you can have any income level, but you can be strategic at how you can utilize your money to buy back some time. Now, this was a difficult one for me because growing up, I was taught to be frugal. I was taught to do everything myself. The gist is, why pay someone to do something that you can do yourself? Why pay someone to clean the house when I can do it for free? Why pay someone to edit my videos when I know how to edit videos? But as my responsibilities grew, I realized that my time was sometimes better spent elsewhere. I had to get rid of that mindset that I had to be frugal and save every last dollar and that there was never any justification to outsource something if I had the capability to do it. That came from my family, that came from my cultural background, and it came from some pride as well. I'm not telling you to do this irresponsibly and to break your budget and harm your financial progress and your goals to build wealth, but I'm saying if there's a world to do it, fit it in where it makes the most sense and consider it. All right, as promised, here is the 3-2-1 method, which is a system I use to make progress on tasks or projects during super busy weeks. For me, it removes the overwhelm. So let me explain what it is. Basically, you're going to create one list of 6 items to complete in one day. The list is comprised of a list of 3, a list of 2, and 1. 3-2-1. The way it works is you have 3 timed tasks. So these are things you're going to assign a time. I'm gonna work on blank for 1 hour. I'm gonna work on this thing for 15 minutes. I'm gonna work on that project for 2 hours. So 3 different tasks that have a timed component on it. The second category are completion-based tasks. So this is just getting something done. You don't have to assign a time to it. You can just say, I want to get that task done, so add it to the list. And then finally, the number 1 is a bonus task. This is a nice to have. This is a, if I finish this today, that'd be great. If not, it's okay, I can do it later. So the premise is this. The whole reason I like this system is not because you have to finish all 6 tasks. In fact, if you finish all 6 in a given day, your tasks might not be hard enough, or you probably could have added more to do in that day. But you'll get the gist of it as you go along. So the point is not to finish all 6 on the list. The point is you start from the top, so you do the timed tasks. Think the Pomodoro method that we talked about earlier. You time yourself, you have focused sit down time for just that task. No distractions, you do all the things I said earlier. Put your phone on silent, put your phone in the other room if you have to. Time yourself and work on that task. And once you've spent that amount of time on that task, you check it off. Now you might not have completed what you were trying to finish, but that's not the point. The point is you spent a dedicated amount of time on it. This way, no matter what, you are making progress towards it. So you go down the list, you spend an hour doing this, 30 minutes doing that, 30 minutes doing that. Now, once you've known you've already made progress on those items, you can move to the completion-based tasks. Some of these can take 5 minutes, some can take 5 hours. Regardless, you are going to shift your energy and focus on the next task. Now, the beauty of this method, I said that I use this for weeks where I have a lot to get done and I want to make sure I'm efficient and make progress. So let's say you only get done with the first 3, the 3 time-based tasks. What happens is when you create the tasks for the next day, you take a look at those time-based tasks and you're like, okay, I spent an hour doing that, but I still didn't finish. You can elect to add it again to your time tasks. Maybe you add 2 hours this time. Or if you complete it and you don't need to do it anymore, you will move the list of 2 up to 3. So instead of just having this huge 5-hour thing you got to work on, you're going to move it up to the timed task and assign a time to it. So it might sound overly complicated, but I promise it works for me. I made it up. I like to gamify things and make methods up, and I try so many different things. So I didn't see this anywhere. I just made it up myself and it works. So it may or may not work for you. If you have any more questions about how it works, let me know in the comments. And I hope this video makes you more efficient with your time. Until next time, peace out.